What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Another video means another dopamine high because I had to buy something that feels something, and today we're back at it. It's been almost 3 weeks since I've last uploaded.
God, I just want to make content more often!
Today's video is actually special because we are revisiting a franchise that I love very much, and that is the Halo franchise. Specifically, Jazwares is the Spartan Collection line, because Wave 7 is out. At least it's out early, because I have not seen these figures for Wave 7 in any Targets or Walmarts. It seems like those two stores have actually just completely removed their Halo sections, so the only way you can get these figures are from GameStop, and not even online. You have to go to the store in person, because I checked the GameStop website and there is no web page or information regarding Wave 7 of the Spartan Collection. So it seems like if you do want to get this figure for yourself, you're gonna have to get off your lazy ass and go to your local GameStop. We're gonna be doing things a little bit different when it comes to reviewing the Spartan Collection figures. Instead of reviewing the entire wave in one long formatted video, we're actually gonna cut things up and review a video at a time. So that kind of lightens the workload for me, and it allows me to really focus on that one figure and give you the most I can out of each review. So hopefully this turns out well. And for today's review, we are looking at Frederic 104, or you can just call him Fred, from Blue Team. So with all that said, let's get into the video.
God damn it!
So of course, starting off in the head region of the figure, unfortunately we cannot get that 360-degree rotation out of his head because of the armor around his torso is getting in the way. So unfortunately, because of that piece of armor, he can't rotate his head 360 degrees, but if that piece of armor wasn't there, I guarantee you that he would be able to get that 360-degree rotation. So it is not the joint's fault at all, it's just the design of the figure. And with this figure, he can actually look up and down a decent amount, which is our first improvement that we are seeing with the new wave. So very happy to see that. And you can't really have him tilt his head side to side, but because of him being able to look up and down so well, you can actually have him express himself in various ways. So very good to see that there. Very happy, and overall very happy with the head articulation in this figure. Not really bummed out that he can't rotate his head 360 degrees, because the only reason you need him to do that is if you're having him snap his neck or anything like that. The articulation is still very solid when having him look side to side. So overall, very happy with the articulation in this figure already. And then looking at the arms, of course, we can get that nice 360-degree spin out of him, which very nice to see. And then actually looking at the tricep bicep area, you can see that you can rotate it individually from the joint in the shoulder, which is really nice. But after a certain point, because of friction and all that, you will bring that shoulder joint with you. So you can technically rotate it 360 degrees, but you're also at some point going to be taking the shoulder joint with you along that rotation. So it is what it is. And then moving down to the elbow, we can see that we can get a elbow bend. I don't know if I would consider it the best, because you can't move it too much because of the forearm and bicep clashing with each other. I do like it when figures can do shoulder taps and really bring up their forearms as much as they can, but unfortunately this is not the best I've seen. There's definitely worse, but this isn't the best elbow bend I've seen. At least it looks organic and not gross, so they got that going for it then. And then of course with the hand, you can rotate it 360 degrees and bend the wrist however you please. And that is pretty much it for the arm articulation. Overall, very happy with the improvement in the tricep bicep area. The elbow articulation is about the same, so overall there is an improvement here, which is really good to see. And then one thing they decided not to improve upon was the torso. It doesn't really move at all. It tries to move, but it can't. I still don't know why they won't improve upon this. Makes me big sad, honestly. And then taking a look at the legs, we can rotate them 360 degrees. It's a little bit of a hassle because of the thigh armor clashing with the waist armor, but it can be done if you are stubborn enough like me. So you got that going for you. And then after that, we can actually see I don't know if this was in the previous waves, but there is a joint that kind of separates the thigh from the upper thigh, I guess. You can kind of see it. The greatest thing that come out of the leg portion of this figure, and it's been a long time coming. We had it in earlier waves, but not in the newer ones, and it has made a return.
They fixed the knee articulation!
Jazwares has finally done it. They've actually fixed the knee problem in the Spartan Collection. For a while now, we'd either have shitty knee articulation or, you know, a really good range of motion, but the knee would just look unorganic and gross. And here we are where, you know, the knee bend looks good and feels good. So it's very great to see that. Very happy. Good to see that Jazwares is finally listening to us and taking a step in the right direction in the terms of articulation and the actual build of the figure. And then looking at the feet of the figure, we can obviously rotate the feet 360 degrees and bend the ankle however you please, so you can balance and pose them in various ways, which is really nice to see on this figure. And then of course the toe, you can just move up and down for further balancing of the figure, so very nice to see that there. So overall, I am very happy with the leg articulation on this figure. Very nice to see Jazwares taking that step in the right direction and improving upon what the fans were seeing as problems and issues, and, you know, not messing with anything that doesn't need to be messed with. So very nice, very good to see that there from Jazwares. And overall, very happy with the articulation on this figure. Kind of disappointed with the elbow bend and the torso area of the figure, but overall very solid range of motion. And yeah, moving on to the next segment. And to get the disappointment out of the way, we cannot take the knives out of Fred's shoulders. I don't know why they didn't include this, seeing that they had that feature with all the knives with the Noble Team members that the knives did come with. So again, I don't know why Jazwares didn't take advantage of this. I thought it would have been a really cool feature and would have added some value to the figure. And starting off with the hands, you know, the things that these figures come with because it's the Spartan Collection. Well, we have 7 included. We have 2 holding hands, 2 trigger finger hands, 2 just open wide hands, and 1 fist. And for our first weapon included, we do have the DMR. This is the DMR that we do see in Halo 4 and 5. So of course it is a different model, which I'm completely fine by. More weapons, more fun. That's what I say. And I think Jazwares did a great job with the visual presentation of this weapon. The sculpt looks great. The color variation looks great. No complaints whatsoever. They even got the bolt carrier on the side, so very happy to see that there. And overall, no complaints. Very nice. So I may have no issues with the visual, the DMR itself, but one issue I did have, and it kind of goes hand in hand with the elbow articulation that I mentioned earlier, is that you can't have him properly shoulder the DMR because of that elbow articulation. You kind of have him having the stock of the DMR on top of his tricep, bicep, and shoulder area, rather than him properly shouldering the weapon, which doesn't really allow him to look down sights, which, you know, kind of bums me out because, you know, if you properly hold a rifle or any kind of long arm, you have to shoulder the weapon and to look down the sights, and he just can't do that because his arm does not reach the trigger if you try to position the DMR into his shoulder, which bums me out because, you know, I would like him to properly hold the rifle so he kind of looks all tactical and whatnot, but unfortunately that cannot be achieved here because of the elbow articulation, or lack of there being, I should say. So I don't know if this is more of a subjective thing or if this bothers everyone or if I'm the only one bitching about this, but this is something I did notice with the figure, and I would like all y'all's thoughts in the comments down below if y'all would like to share. And then for our second weapon, we have the sidekick that we've seen all throughout Infinite, and there's not really much to say. We've seen this weapon 1,000 times in the Spartan Collection by now. So overall, great job with the visuals, no problems with anything, I promise. Yeah, so good job, Spartan Collection. Yeah, good. And obviously, because this is the Spartan Collection, we have the pegs that go on the back for the primaries. You just pull it out, turn it around, and then obviously you put the peg in the peg hole that is on the weapon, and there you go. And then obviously to undo this, it's just the steps I just told you, but backwards. So there you go, nice and simple. And then of course there are the ones on the thighs. It's the same process as the one on the back, just obviously on a different location of the body. So not going to go too in depth into that, but, you know, it is there if you want to put any secondaries on their thighs, and this is on both legs, of course. And here we are at the visual presentation segment of the video. This is pretty much what I call 1-minute rants, because I limit myself to 1 minute to basically go over what I like or dislike about the visuals of said figure. I only limit myself to 1 minute because in the past I've had a terrible track record of making this segment way too long and way too repetitive and just, you know, not being very insightful. So hopefully by limiting myself to 1 minute, I can really take the time and think about what I want to say rather than just, you know, going on and on and on and on. Starting off with the helmet, I do think that this is a solid design choice. This is heavily inspired off of the Halo Legends appearance of Fred, and this is the the design for Fred's helmet in Halo Shadows of Reach, which is a great book, by the way. But anyways, and then here we have the knives, which this is also taken from the Halo Legends design, which looks really cool. Yeah, it sucks we can't take them out, but still cool nonetheless to see visually. And I have to give Jazwares credit where credit is due. The sculpt work on this figure is phenomenal. There are details riddled across this figure's body from head to toe, from the armor to the undersuit. Just phenomenal work on the Jazwares side of things. Just this figure is great. The only thing that kind of bums me out is the paint job, because I feel like they could have given this figure more of a black wash or panel lined it to allow all that amazing line work to pop out and really bring this figure to life. But unfortunately, it just kind of has that Halo 2 chief effect where the armor's a little too bright and not too much is highlighted on the figure. But overall, great looking figure. But with that now out of the way, let's put this bad boy into scale with some size comparisons. Now, not really a size comparison starting off, but here is Fred next to the remaining members of Blue Team. I don't think they're different sizes, but just here they are for shits and giggles. Now on to size comparisons. Starting off with Jazwares The World of Halo, Halo Infinite Master Chief, McFarlane's Halo 3 and Mark 6 Spartan, NECA's Big Chap, NECA's The Elder Predator aka Greyback, Hasbro's Star Wars The Black Series Gaming Greats Rocket Stormtrooper, and finally McFarlane's The Doomslayer. Here we are at the turntable segment of the video. This is pretty much where I go over like, dislike, pros, cons, strengths, and weaknesses, general thoughts and opinions, and all stuff in between, and give y'all something to bounce off of and go down into the comment section below. Y'all are more than welcome to get a conversation rolling down there, and I'll most likely reply to your comments because obviously I like talking about this stuff. And starting off, I just want to get the sour stuff out of the way, pretty much the cons, negatives, weaknesses, issues I had with the figure, and I like getting this out of the way first because I don't like dwelling on bad things longer than I have to. And the first thing that does come to mind is the elbow bend. Now, I don't know if this is because NECA has spoiled me with such amazing elbow bends where figures are able to do shoulder taps and all that, but the elbow bend on this figure is unfortunately not all there. By no means is it horrendous, like he can move his elbow an okay amount, but there are some issues that come with this. The big one that comes to mind is how he has issues shouldering or holding his weapon properly, which sucks because you'd want the figure to hold the weapon that he comes with correctly, and in this case that is just not possible because of the elbow bend. So that's just kind of a bummer to see here. And then the second thing that does come to mind is the lack of torso articulation with this figure. It is nice to see Jazwares listen and actually improve upon the figures in this wave, but it also sucks to see that they haven't improved upon some things, and one of those things is obviously the torso articulation, because you can't move it whatsoever. You can't have him lean back, lean forward, or lean side to side, or rotate his torso. So it just kind of sucks to see that your Spartan figure can't move his torso. Spartans, the things that were bred to be super soldiers and run all around and all that jazz, his torso can't move, which kind of sucks to see. And then the third thing that does come to mind are the knives and how they aren't removable, which really sucks because we did see this already with the Noble Team member, so I don't know why Jazwares skipped out on Fred. I feel like this would have really, added some more value to the figure and given him more playability and more reason to buy him. Not saying that the price for the Spartan Collection figures are bad. They are justifiable for what you get. I just feel like it would have made this figure even more worth it with the price that they are selling these figures at as well. So I just see this as a lost opportunity for Jazwares, and kind of sucks to see. And then the last thing I'm iffy about when it comes to this figure is the finish of the figure. I wouldn't go to the full extent of saying that Fred has the Halo 2 Master Chief effect, where I think his armor is like highlighter bright, but I feel like his armor could have been, made a little bit more darker, a little more grittier, could have given this figure a black wash or panel line some of those smaller details to allow him to pop out. I will give Jazwares the benefit of the doubt. There are some black little highlights spread out across this figure, but I feel like they could have done so much more with the line work to really make this figure look 10 times better than what it looks like right now. And getting into the positives, pretty much the pros, the likes, the strengths of this figure. And the first thing that does come to mind is the design of this figure. I think Jazwares did such an amazing job at recreating this design of Fred, because this is actually Gen 3 Fred, if you couldn't tell already. And the only time that we see him in the Gen 3 Mjolnir armor is on the cover of the novel Shadows of Reach, so there isn't too much to work off of if you put it in the perspective, but granted, the Gen 3 appearance of Fred is heavily inspired off of Halo Legends, the package Fred, so I wouldn't be surprised if the people down at Jazwares looked at the package as well for the design of this figure, because there isn't too much to look off of when it comes to the novel of Shadows of Reach. But again, with what they had to work with and what they've executed, this is an amazing looking figure. I have no complaints except for the paint job kind of being a little too bright for my liking. I kind of wish they made it the shade of blue a little bit darker and given a more, gritty wash over the figure's appearance. But yeah, no, sculpt wise, amazing. And then the second thing that does come to mind is I really enjoy the fact that we have a new weapon mold with this figure. Yeah, I understand that's a DMR that we already saw with Carter's release, but this is a new mold of DMR, the one that we saw in Halo 4 and 5. So I believe that the more weapons that we get in the Spartan Collection, the more fun we can have by swapping them out and, giving us more opportunities at different types of toyography and display options and all that kind of jazz, because more weapons means more fun. And for the final and largest takeaway in the realm of positivity around this figure, and that is the knee bend. The knee bend is finally fixed. Jazwares has finally heard our prayers, our cries, and have gone out of their way to fix that horrendous knee bend that we've been getting in the recent waves. The knee bend with this figure looks great and feels great. I have no complaints whatsoever. A 10 out of 10 in the realms of knee bends. So very happy to see that there. And hopefully this foreshadows Jazwares listening to their customers and actually improving upon the things that us, the consumer, dislike about their said product. So I know I just threw a lot at y'all, so just to give y'all a brief summary of my overarching thoughts on this figure. I do like this figure, even though yes, technically I do have more dislikes than likes. Granted, more of those dislikes are me being nitpicky and just giving constructive criticism. The only criticism that I feel like isn't constructive, and it's something that Jazwares does need to fix because it is an actual issue, is the torso articulation. I just do not like it at all, and I'm pretty sure there are plenty of fans who are also upset with the lack of torso articulation with these figures. The other things like the knives, I know some people probably care less about that, but I think that's just a lost opportunity and would have been really cool to see. And then the biggest subjective nitpick I do have about this figure is the paint job of the figure. Don't get me wrong, visually the sculpt work of this figure is phenomenal. The line work, top notch. Jazwares did not skip out getting as many tiny details as they could nail on the figure, but the only issue is I feel like the paint job doesn't do any of the sculpt work justice. I kind of wish that, instead of just making Fred this bright baby blue, they made the shade of blue a little bit darker, black washed him a little bit, and kind of panel lined the details throughout his armor to allow him to pop out and really bring this figure to life, kind of similar to how McFarlane would do the Halo figures. But again, that's just me being more subjective and saying I like that. I like McFarlane's style of figure over Jazwares. At the end of the day, if you like this more, that's you, power to you, but that's just something I wish that Jazwares would do. And then obviously the things that I like about this figure is the sculpt work, like I just previously mentioned, phenomenal, top notch. Jazwares did not skip out on that at all. Then of course I'm very happy seeing a new weapon mold added to the Spartan Collection portfolio, because more weapons mean more fun. And of course the biggest thing that I am happy about, and that is the knee bend. Obviously, previous releases, the knee bend just looked gross and just kind of felt weird, but here it feels great, it looks great, no complaints whatsoever. And I think Jazwares is, putting these figures in the right direction. We aren't seeing any, regression with these figures, no going backwards. Any issues that I do have with this figure we've seen in previous releases, and they did improve upon something here. So hopefully this foreshadows Jazwares further improving future releases, because that would be very ideal, especially with the torso articulation or the lack of there being. So overall, very happy with this figure. Highly recommend, if you have been hesitant of recently of collecting these figures or getting back into these figures, if you did put them down along the way, which I don't blame you, because there was a point where these figures were rough, and now it seems like things are getting better. So if you are thinking about coming back, now is the time. And I love this figure. I couldn't recommend it more. It's not the best in the wave. I have tried out 3 of the 4 figures. Don't know when Rory is coming out, but this is an amazing figure, and just because it's not my favorite in the wave doesn't mean it's bad at all. So hopefully everything I just said makes sense to y'all. I know I may sound conflicted at times when I give my final verdicts and all that, but that's because I try to point out every positive and negative thing about said figure or whatever I am reviewing. So I might sound conflicted at times, but trust me, I do love this figure. It's a great figure despite some of the flaws that I do find in it, and do recommend it for anyone who is thinking about getting into the Spartan collection or is thinking about getting back into the Spartan collection. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about this figure. So if you do have this figure already, please tell me down below, do you like or dislike this figure, and what do you like or dislike about said figure? And if you did enjoy this video, a like and a subscription would be very much appreciated. You don't have to comment, I get it, that's a lot of effort on your fingies, but if you do, I'll most likely reply to your comment because I obviously like talking about this stuff. And don't worry about the bell, I know that shit is broken. And if you want to see more content like this, there's plenty of it up on the channel. I do need to start reviewing more Halo stuff or making more Halo related content because I absolutely love Halo to bits and pieces, and for some reason that is the franchise I make the least amount of videos on. But I do have other stuff. I review NECA stuff, Hasbro stuff, specifically Star Wars, Predator, and Alien in the realm of those companies. So if any of that interests you, you're more than welcome to go check that out. And I promise shortly after this video, the reviews for the other figures will be coming out. I haven't worked on those videos yet except for the footage of the figures themselves. Nothing has been edited or anything like that. But I promise videos will be coming out consistently yet again soon. Hopefully, may God have mercy on my soul. Please have a nice day, and please stay hydrated.